Hey everybody, today we're going to show you how to set up a twitch up snare. Now twitch up snares, there's all different variations of it, and you can just use your imagination on how to set these up. But I'm going to show you the basic components to this here in a second. Really, for a twitch up snare, you just need your supports to hold the trigger stick and a bait stick. And you got whatever your imagination brings you for the other components. But I'm going to go over here right now and show you what components I have for the one that we're going to do today. So what we got here are these two long pieces. These are going to be your supports. These guys are going to be driven into the ground, and they're going to hold all the weight of the branch or whatever is going to be holding your actual snare rope in place. This is what's going to turn into the trigger stick. It's going to sit upright, up straight up and down, and the bait is going to go on the branches off to your right. So you can see it kind of looks like a number 7. And then this is going to be your trigger stick. We'll process that here in a little bit. And then you've got two smaller pieces. All these little pieces are going to do is sit in the ground, and they're going to hold your rope up, your snare out, so that it doesn't get bunched up and the animal will go through it and not get tangled in the rope. But we're going to go ahead and start processing these. First, I'm going to start out with these longer supports here. Now, if you're working in hard clay soil, something that's going to not break apart easily, these can be a lot shorter. If you got gravelly, loose, sandy soil, these are got to be longer. Like I said, you got to pound these into the ground. So all I'm going to do is one side of them is I'm going to whittle a point so I can drive them into the ground easier. So I'm going to go ahead and whittle those. I'm not going to show you that because you all know how to whittle a point into a stick. So while I do that, I'll set you down and then I'll come back. Alright, so I've whittled those support sticks into a point, and I've driven them into the ground. So they go into the ground several inches. Now right here, as you can see, they cross, and I've got some paracord, and they're tying those together. If you don't have paracord, you can make rope out of whatever it is that you have around you. Usually here we use the narrow leaf yucca. You can use roots from pine trees as well. Now I've gone ahead and grabbed those other two smaller sticks, and they're right here and here, and as you can see, there's a little split down each one. Now when the snare, when we set it up, it's just gonna, the top of it is just gonna notch on each side, and it'll encompass this entire area here. So the animal's gonna come through here, through the trap, and the bait stick is gonna be sitting right here. So this is the start of it. So you got these two cross supports. They're tied in the center here, and you got those two pieces right there that hold your snare in place. Alright, so now we're going to go back over here. Now we're going to work on the bait stick. What we're going to do is we're going to whittle this down into a point. This is where the bait's going to be. So it just needs to be long enough. Go back over here. Basically what's going to happen, oh, one last thing I forgot to put in there. You're going to need something. I got a piece of wood right here. You can use a piece of wood, a round wood, you can use a round rock, you can use an acorn, whatever it is. The bottom of the bait stick is going to rest on top of that. That keeps it from wedging into the ground, and it's going to slide off really easy, and that's what you want for sensitivity, because that animal is going to grab that bait stick right here. They're going to grab the bait that you put on the end of here, and they're going to break it free, and it's going to slide off, and it's going to trigger the trap mechanism. So what we need is just whittle that stick down so that the point is right in between your two upright supports. Now if you want to increase sensitivity, you whittle this piece right here into a point or close to a point, and then you whittle the bottom down here into a point. Now if you get those too pointy, it's going to be too sensitive, and it may not set up right, and it's going to keep triggering on you no matter what. So there's a happy medium on how pointy you want this end and this end. And then the trigger stick is going to sit on top of that, but we'll show you here in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and whittle a point on the end of this down here so that the bait will go on the end of it. We just smash it on there or push it on there, so the animal has to push and tug on this trigger or on this bait stick for it to break free. So I'm going to go ahead and whittle this, and then I'll show you the end piece of it. All right, so here's my bait stick. It did break that other branch off on the other one, so I went and got another bait stick. So as you can see, I got a point on this end, and these are just a little bit rounded down to start, and then if I need to increase sensitivity, I'll go ahead and whittle those further. So this is just going to sit top of this little piece of wood right like this. Obviously it's not going to stand up on its own right now, but we'll show you here in a minute how this all locks together. So the next piece that I'm going to work on is the trigger stick, and the trigger stick is what ties in to your rope that goes to your tree, whatever your pulley system is. So I'm going to go grab that right now. Alright, so I got my trigger stick. On one side I'm going to whittle a point. On the other side, just a little ways in, I'm just going to cut a notch, a really small notch all the way around, because the rope is going to tie into this side. So we'll go ahead and whittle this side. This point sits on top of that bait stick. I'll show you how it ties in here in a minute. You might have to do a little trial and error for the length of this bait stick, depending on how your trap is set up and how tall your upright supports are. But as you can see, for me, it's just about the length of my forearm, almost to the tips of my fingers for this particular trap. Okay, so we got a bit of a point here. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then on this side, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna cut all the way around, just in a little notch so the rope doesn't slide off. Now you can use your knife, and you can cut around like this. I'm gonna go ahead and use my saw, just so it's quicker. So you can see there how there's a notch around it. Pretty basic. That's just so the rope sits in there and doesn't slide off. And you can do that any number of ways. If you have a stick that's got a knot here on the end, you only have to whittle that out. You just need that rope, because the rope is going to be pulling sort of back in this direction and up, so you don't want it to slip off. You'd also do like a number 7 notch at the bottom. Not sure what a number 7 notch is. I'll show you one here real quick. So there's a number 7 notch. You just see it just got a little hook on there, so the rope will bind up. So that's basically it. Now, like I said, the rope is going to tie to here, and all your weight's going to be pushing up like this. So we're going to head on back over that trap and show you how it's set up. Okay, so here's our trap set up. As you can see, we have the bait stick here. This piece comes out as close to this opening as possible. The bait you're going to want to put on that point before you set it up, otherwise you're going to trigger it. As you can see, the bottom of it is sitting on this piece of wood here, and that's pretty unstable. That's going to roll pretty easily once it's triggered. And then the point is up here. Now if I need to sensitize that a little bit more, I'm going to whittle this down point a little bit down more. I'm going to whittle that point down a little bit more. Okay, so the trigger stick right here, as you can see, runs underneath these 2 supports, and then the rope that goes to the tree is tied in right here. I got a separate rope, piece of paracord, that is also tied in the tree, and that's my snare. Now, as you can see right here, the paracord is just pinched in between those two splices on both sides. Now that's only to hold it out. As you can see, it's in a loop down on the ground because you want the animal to come in this way. If those weren't there, this would just droop down and you would not catch anything. So the animal is going to come into this side, grab that stick, and it's going to yank him up. Now to finish this trap off, this trap is not complete yet. What you're going to have to do is along the sides, you're going to have to build up a wall on each side of this, on this side here, and then on the other side on here, and it can come down into a V. That's going to funnel the animal in this direction. Now when you're setting up this rope, the actual snare part of it, you want to make sure you're underneath your trigger stick. So your trigger stick's up here, you're underneath. You don't want the trigger stick to go through your snare area, otherwise it's going to get caught in the snare also, and it's not going to bind up properly. Now you can use, regular snare wire. I've got a video for how to set up a penny snare. You can use that. That works great on something like this. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go get a bunch of sticks and drive into the ground here to funnel this up. Now there's a good chance I'm going to trigger this, so you probably should do it ahead of time, but I wanted to show you what it looks like from the side view before we get it funneled. Alright, I'm going to stop there because I want you to be able to see this once I trigger it. But you get the basic idea. You want to make it so the animal has a hard time getting in on the sides. I would normally build up the front area a little bit more. But like I said, I want you to be able to see what's going on when I trigger it, if you didn't see it when I tripped it when I started going on it. But yeah, you want to make sure that anything that you put on here for funneling isn't going to work against or get bound up with the working mechanisms on this. So I'm going to let the camera sit right there. I'm going to go grab the trigger stick that flew off up in the tree, and I've got my bait stick that I set up right here, and we're going to set this up. Alright, try to do this without getting in your way here. You can see stuff. A little difficult because I'm on the wrong side of the trap for me and being right-handed. So you can see there's a lot of tension on this stick here. So that's why these have to be driven quite a ways in the ground. Now this is the hard part, getting this to set up straight. Remember, it's got a balance on that little piece of wood that's in there. Everything's got to lock together just perfectly. Alright, now careful, you want to stay away from this trigger stick when you're setting your snare. Open up your snare and place it in between these two sticks here that hold it open. Keep your face out of the way of this stick. And there it is set up. Now right here you're going to want to block that off normally. So your animal's going to come in, hit that bait stick, and away it goes. And it'll be lifted up off the ground. And there's your trigger stick up in the tree. So that's it. That's your basic twitch up snare with the components I used on this one today. Just a trigger stick, a bait stick, a couple upright supports, and then the two little pieces that hold that paracord in place or your snare in place. If you have any questions, just comment below, and remember, the prepared survive.